have the Overwatch 2 Mid-Season 3 patch live today, March 7, 2023, and here's what's being added. The One Punch Man collaboration is now live, where you can buy Saitama Doomfist, Terrible Tornado Kiriko, and Genos Genji bundles, with these being the current listed prices for the promotion. However, there are free rewards for playing for the rest of Season 3. Play 4 games for the Saitama Fist Weapon Charm, 8 games for the Moomin Rider name card, 12 for Soldier's Cyclist of Justice Victory Pose, 16 for Soldier's Justice Crash Highlight Intro, 20 for Boro's Weapon Charm, and 24 for the Moomin Rider Soldier Skin, which I can't show in game because I haven't unlocked it yet. For Orisa, the Terra Surge can now be interrupted by Sombra's hack, and this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. The dev comments say that Terra Surge is a channeled ultimate which cannot be interrupted by most abilities, as it gains the same effects as Fortify. While this makes sense for stuns, Sombra's hack interrupt shouldn't be negated and now correctly cancels Terra Surge. So my thoughts are that this makes Terra Surge so bad against Sombra. You will literally never be able to cast Terra Surge as long as a Sombra is running around, since you have to channel the damn ultimate for so long in one stationary spot. You're a sitting duck. If Sombra somehow becomes meta again, it'll make Orisa like a D tier instantly. For Ramattra, this is a quality life change to his ultimate, Annihilation, where using it while in Nemesis form will now automatically refresh your armor. The devs comment, players found that shifting out of Nemesis form before activating the Annihilation ultimate would fully reset Nemesis form's bonus armor. To smooth out the gameplay, it now resets the armor health automatically as part of the ultimate activation. Now, this is purely a quality of life change, and good Ramattra players already knew to cancel and reactivate their ultimate for that armor, but this should smooth things out for the inexperienced Ramattra players and is overall a good change. Roadhog is getting a small buff. Chain Hook cooldown now starts when the ability ends instead of at the start. However, its cooldown overall is being reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. The developer comments clear up all the confusion on this. The Chain Hook cooldown beginning when the ability started instead of at the end caused some confusion when discussing the cooldown, since once you can see the timer, it appeared a second shorter, which was 7 seconds, than the actual maximum cooldown. And after fixing that, we're reducing the cooldown overall by an additional 1 second to increase the frequency of Roadhog's team utility now that being pulled in by the chain hook is less deadly. Ooh, we're getting into the dangerous territory where if we give Roadhog any more additional buffs, despite that one-shot nerf a few patches ago, he's probably going to be pretty good again, and I actually think he's a little underrated at this current time. He still plays pretty well into a few of the tank matchups, and even though you can't one-shot squishy heroes anymore, you can still sort of do it as long as you shoot before hooking, or if your teammates damage them a little bit. I don't know, I don't think people should be flaming you for playing Roadhog right now, especially after this buff. Okay, Wrecking Ball is receiving a slight nerf after all his major buffs in the Season 3 patch, where the Minefield arming time has been increased from 1 to 1.25 seconds. Now, Wrecking Ball in the past used to have a 1.5 second arm time, which got buffed to 1 second at the beginning of the season, and now it's nerfed back to 1.25, which is like a happy medium between the two. I'd say this is a pretty insignificant nerf. He's still a really good hero. For Grappling Claw, they're adding a timeout indicator above the ability icon, which is a small quality of life change to let you know how much time you have left before your grapple will automatically detach. Good ball players already intuitively knew how long the grapple would last, but at least it's now there for you. They've also now added a few custom hero specific options for Ball. If you go into the settings, change hero, Wrecking Ball, they now have relative aim sensitivity while rolling. And if you're on the Nintendo Switch, you have the relative gyro sensitivity while rolling. Now, the devs comment that there is now a hero control option for Wrecking Ball to set a separate aim sensitivity while transformed into a ball, as players may want to aim as weapons in first person and move the camera in third person significantly differently. In addition, a visual indicator for Grappling Claw has been added to indicate its maximum duration before automatically detaching. Zarya has a small buff where the shared cooldown for Particle Barrier and Projected Barrier is reduced from 11 to 10 seconds. The devs comment, a previous change decreased both barrier duration and increased the cooldown at the same time, lowering Zarya's effectiveness more than anticipated. This is a partial reversion to help level it out. So for context, the old Season 1 Zarya, where we had Zarya Watch, had bubbles last 2.5 seconds and they were on a 10-second cooldown for each individual bubble. They nerfed it down to 2-second uptime for the bubble and nerfed the cooldown to 11 seconds. So they're still keeping the 2-second overall bubble time, but the cooldown between the bubbles is now 10 seconds, which is a 10% increase in its uptime. That's pretty good, and I think Zarya is going to be good again. For Ashe, Bob now prefers to shoot at enemy targets that Ashe damages with her rifle. The devs comment, "We want to enable Ashe and Bob to easily assist one another more," and Bob now prioritizes targets damaged by Ashe's rifle, which may allow for more flexible ultimate placement. So this mechanic isn't actually new to Overwatch because Torbjorn operates under the same conditions where if you shoot someone, the turret will also try shooting that person as well, which is really good in a Tracer matchup because if you headshot the Tracer, the turret will turn around and kill her. For this change, I want to say it's an overall net buff as you can now work together and probably increase the time to kill on certain targets, but I know there will be instances where Bob shooting someone in the back is inherently more valuable than you shooting someone in the front and having Bob try to shoot that same person. What happens if they're out of line of sight? Well, this is what happens. For Hanzo, his lunge cooldown is being decreased from 5 to 4 seconds, a pretty minor buff. Hanzo has high burst damage potential with Storm Bow and Storm Arrows and strong utility with Sonic Arrow, but still underperforms compared to other heroes in the same role. This change increases his survivability without directly improving his strengths. No comments here, I think Hanzo is okay right now and this buff should help him out. Mei's Blizzard ultimate cast time is reduced from 0.5 to 0.4 seconds. Now this is pretty minor, but the devs will explain where the Mei's Blizzard ult cast time sometimes led to situations where the animation appeared to have been completed, but there was still additional time that it could get interrupted. This change will help mitigate that feeling without significantly reducing counterplay. So Mei is already starting to get played a lot more because people are realizing she's underrated, and this change doesn't really affect her overall gameplay. It's a pretty edge case scenario where sometimes when Mei casts her ultimate, you can die or get it stunned out of you and you lose your ultimate completely, even though it looks like you completed that throwing animation. So this change kind of smooths that out. Okay, Pharah's jump jet movement is now going to be influenced by directional inputs. The devs comment, in addition to rapidly launching her upwards, jump jet used to always move Pharah forward a small amount, which made the ability feel less responsive when trying to move to the side or backwards. So this change now enables a small amount of horizontal momentum in any direction. This is a really good buff after playing around with it a bit, both for quality of life and for control of Pharah's movement. Now when you pop your jump jet, you can control your lateral movements and dodge stuff a lot better. Sojourn's actually getting a nerf to her torso hit volume where its width is increasing by 20%. Devs comment, due to the angle of Sojourn's torso in her default animation stance, her torso hit volume was more difficult to hit compared to similarly sized heroes. So any sort of change to the hitbox where they fatten it up or increase it is actually a bigger nerf than people expect, because the easier you are to hit, the more consistent the enemies will be able to kill you. That means random skill shots like an Orisa spear will land a lot easier than before. It actually matters a lot. Finally, the last balance change is Baptiste's immortality field, where the minimum health threshold is increased from 10% to 25%. Where Baptiste is capable of potent damage and healing output, but often slightly underperforms across many skill levels. This change to the immortality field's minimum health threshold will strengthen his utility and enable him to more reliably assist his allies after its effect ends. So I would say this is another big buff to Bap. I've always been saying that Bap has been underrated in Season 3, especially after his synergy with Ryan has been buffed. It's not as crucial for Baptiste when he gets low because he can regen burst from 10% of his health, which is 20. Now he's going to be at base 50, but when we talk about tanks that are sitting in your immortality field when they get low, the fact that they have 25% of their low health threshold is actually quite significant. Like, look at the difference between previous patch Roadhog at the 10% versus 25% on the Roadhog. It matters. Bap is already growing in popularity in the top 500 lobbies, so expect to see him a lot more in your games. And that is all for the Season 3 mid-season balance patch. Make sure to come on over to my stream at twitch.tv/KarQ because I'm going to be giving away One Punch Man bundles all week.